and welcome to today's After Church Tea Time. My name is Deanna, and today I am joined by Hannah, Dylan, Andy, and Nikki. Hi, everyone. Awesome. So today we will be discussing a beautiful sermon by Shaleia, Embracing God's Dream. But before we jump into the sermon, what are you guys drinking for tea time today?
We're drinking coffee.
I'm drinking a lemonade, a cold one that I made myself.
Got some coffee with cinnamon in it right here.
I already had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm
Okay.
coffee.
So you're good. Nice. I've got coffee too. Cool. Also, today is Mother's Day in the US. So just want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers who are tuning in, all of the mothers who are part of this community, and a special happy Mother's Day to the Divine Mother of this Church of Union, Shaleia Divine. We love you and we appreciate all that you are and all that you do. Awesome. So now that we are a bit more grounded into the conversation, let's jump into the sermon. What were some of you all's insights and takeaways?
Yeah, for me, I really loved the beginning card reading. It was really powerful, like how it was love, 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 back to back. It really set the scene for a beautiful sermon by Shaleia to dive into, God's love for us, God's desires for us, and, really like hit home of who we really are. Like we are love, we are children of God, and He loves us so much. And like, just made that so clear today, especially like, I guess on Mother's Day. I think it's really beautiful because like God is our own mother too. And like for Him to come through, for her to come through and just give us all of that love. And that reading was really powerful for me, hit home. And I think really led into even deeper love, and which was shared in the intro and the sermon of like what God really wants for us, which is a life full of just pure love and joy and happiness, and that we're all so worthy and deserving of that. So I love the opening piece.
Yeah, I thought that all like the whole sermon was like one big meditation in a way. Just everyone that spoke you could tell how God is really coming through them and allowing for us to feel the presence of God through the sermon, and really like becoming aware of where God is within our own lives and what's happening within our lives that we can really bring awareness to allow us to come closer to God. And yeah, it just really spoke to me on many levels of what's going on in my life right now, as far as like ways that God has shown me maybe some things that where I'm trying to control too much of my dream, and where I could release more to God to allow Him to guide me to where I really want to be, and not just where I think that I want to be myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with that. Just kind of surrendering that control. Because like one thing that Shaleia mentioned in the sermon that really stood out for me was how we're kind of from birth, like in society, we're kind of taught ego's way of thinking. And so you have to make like an effort to let go of some of those limiting beliefs that we grew up with. And like some of those limiting beliefs make us think that we're supposed to go in a certain direction. And so we really have to surrender that and go in the direction that God is calling us. And it can look completely different from what we had in mind, but just kind of being open to that change, and recognizing that God knows us, right? God knows what's best for us. God loves us, and what God has in mind is 100 times, million times better than what we could have ever imagined.
Yeah, and for me, it was mainly seeing where I was getting stuck, because I thought that, okay, I've healed and I've come into a place where I feel good and I'm like comfortable, but I was getting too comfortable. And as Soraya was saying, like about her part of the journey where she was like staying comfortable and not like pursuing her dreams, because she thought that it was like okay to just overcome survival. And that's where we are in a way, or we were. And now what we saw, it was that we were doing exactly that. And like, because we came from a very survival mode place, we were getting stuck there, and we were like, okay, we're together, but we weren't feeling like very fulfilled, because we were not pursuing our life purpose, or we were not seeing like the bigger picture of, okay, why are we together? And because we were not taught that we should pursue God like in a way of opening ourselves completely and receiving Him, and just like pursue and just like pursue our dreams that we have, we were like, okay, we're good here. It's enough, but it's not, because we were not okay.
Yeah, it was what Soraya mentioned about feeling enough just to not suffer, and just going to that place that you're not suffering as much, and you're like comparing yourself to a few years back, how you were suffering back then, and now you're much better, and like camping there, like being too comfortable in that zone, and that doesn't feel good. And it's something that we're also releasing from our consciousness, to actually see our whole life and our whole reality as God's dream as well, because our dreams come from God, and it's ultimately God's dream, and God knows what we desire in the core of our hearts for ourselves, and it's safe to follow that, and it's safe to however that looks like from outside, even if it triggers fears, and it doesn't feel too comfortable maybe, because you're entering a new area of your life, and you're really very comfortable in your previous area, so now it feels just different. It's safe to let that go and just go with God.
Yeah, and just like go from vortex to vortex, not getting stuck. Just like vibing up and keeping that, like just like exploring more, like being more open, not getting stagnant, like, okay, I achieved this, now I'm okay. No, like you have other stuff to pursue, you have other stuff to see, you have other stuff to explore, to experience. Like God is limitless, as Soraya was saying. So we will continue this until we're in perfect union and beyond. Even like as Soraya was saying, like our upset will finish. Like we will, there will come a time that we don't have an upset, and we have to prepare to just like keep ourselves like going even there, even then. It's like the upset is just like the illusion. So you let go of the illusion, but you still pursue God. And even after this perfect union, you will still pursue God, because He is limitless. So it's like a practice that we really need to keep relearning and learning, and knowing that, okay, this is how life is supposed to be. Like you're supposed to be extremely and like infinitely abundant, and it never stops, because that's how we're created. So that really felt good to me, because I was like, for a period of time, I was like being like this. I was just, as Soraya was saying in her yoga thing that
Example.
she said, yoga example, that when she looked down, then she will lose balance. And that's what we've experienced for some time. And now that it really like opened my eyes, to be honest, because I'm like, oh, okay, I can walk.
Yeah, it's just
I can
about
look in front of me.
it's just about maintaining your focus forward, and towards God. God is always forward, so, and is always now. So yeah, as you keep focusing and not not let yourself get distracted from other things, you will get focused on God. You will eventually get there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Like everything you guys touched on, I felt really deeply in my heart too. And yeah, I feel like, yeah, in regards to like settling and, you know, not accepting what's like, I'm like not accepting the greatest gifts that God could possibly have for me. It's like, that's kind of, I think, what, you know, like she was talking about how far she had come within the past couple of years, but like how much farther, like, and how much more God has for her. That really, like, you know, I loved that piece. And to realize like we're not just meant to be like people that are not suffering anymore. Like we're meant to be living like our rock star, angelic, like, you know, princess lives. And like I feel like that's something that, you know, day to day it's kind of hard to remember, but this sermon really like yeah, just opened me up to claim more of like who I really am, and to claim like all of me, to claim like my heaven on earth in like a deeper way, and to not get caught up in like, you know, the day-to-day emotions, just to know like I'm riding them out and like I'm healing them one by one. And like she said, like you guys touched on, like I loved that. I loved when she said like there will come a point when like we've cleared all the upsets. And like to me that's so motivating. And like honestly, I haven't really, like, I know the concept of perfect union, I know that's what we're working towards, but like just to hear her say that today was like, oh yeah, like that actually is coming. Like there will come a day where, you know, there are no more upsets to clear, and like then we'll still be pursuing God in like a new and deeper and juicier way. And like yeah, like the pursuit of God, I've realized, is like all that I want in my life, all that I desire in my life. And yeah, and it grows, like it expands. It's really something that I don't think I'll ever be able to like grasp. Like I think she touched on, like it's not something you can really grasp, like all of God's dreams for your life. It's just something you follow one by one, like each desire, and like continue to dream new dreams. Like she was saying with Jeff and Shaleia, how, you know, they've had to keep dreaming new dreams as they've reached their goals and everything. And like yeah, and I think with us, like we are in a phase of like coming into our life purpose and really claiming that for ourselves. And yeah, like really dreaming, like, and trying to get clear on, allowing ourselves to get clear on what God's desires are for us, and like following that and claiming our worthiness in that and our abilities and capabilities for it. Because yeah, like we were both brought up pretty similarly, like, but with parents who weren't as conscious of everything that we are now. And like yeah, and so we do have to work to like to clear those limiting beliefs out, and to continuously claim God for us, like in every moment. And yeah, accept that there's like nothing less, like we're worthy of nothing less than just God's dream for our life. And like that's it. Like that's all we're after.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that as far as like how I was brought up, like my parents were both, you know, they grew up Christian, and, you know, they had beliefs of God, but they still had, like, my dad was very egotistical growing up and had limiting beliefs to his dreams, to where he's been held back in his life and hasn't been able to really pursue God in the way that I know that he's wanted to. And same with my mom, even though she doesn't think in the same way that he does, as far as having this confident ego, which is what has triggered me in the past with my dad, of him just having this like confident ego. But it's the same thing in the opposite way of her being fearful of what she's really capable of and having like a fear-based ego. So like it's been something that I've been transcending, like their beliefs that were placed on me as far as not being able to fulfill the dreams that God has for me, and transcending the worry that my mom has placed on me, and like the egotistical thoughts that my dad has triggered me with, as far as being confident without being egotistical, and being confident that God is always with me, but it doesn't have to, like, it doesn't have to always tell the story in front of a crowd of people that makes people laugh and feel good about themselves, or like I don't have to be that person that my dad desires to be in a crowd of people. I can be myself with God and be happy in knowing that God is always with me while I'm following the dreams of this ascension path, of allowing people to live their dreams and to do everything that they desire to do in their lives without being content or feeling that they're stuck in a place that they can't get out of, because their ego has told them that they are here for a reason, and that's all that they can do. And I think that it's just amazing to be in this community where people realize that God is this flowing energy that is abundant, and like you can ride that wave of God and continue to fulfill all of your desires without feeling like you're stuck in a place, and knowing that you can heal through these upsets with the mirror exercise to allow yourself to go further and further into God's love, and not getting stuck, thinking that like it's never ending and that you're living in lack and you don't have enough and it's not going to change, and you know this world is so chaotic, and like just thinking externally without really going inside and healing it yourself, to realize that like you have the power to drive your life into like the most amazing moments and feelings that God brings to you. And yeah, I think that it was a beautiful sermon that really showed me like that you're so capable of flowing with God in a way that doesn't have to be limiting, and to where like God will show you like places within your life where you are limiting yourself, and where you're trying to control certain things, and but you can transcend that by opening your love to God and allowing him to bring you into the true desire that's within your heart by riding that wave and continuing on to that next thing without feeling like you have to check a box and go to the next thing within your mind, but just flowing to where God takes you within that next moment, and realizing that he's literally everywhere you look, whether it's someone that is triggering you or being like having like when they're I've had someone that has shown me their ego in a way where they're kind of trying to like blame me for where they are in a sense, and it's within my workplace, but it's shown me that I have an issue with my ego that I need to transcend. And so it's just like really allowing myself to like reflect everything that's around me, and know that even if someone's showing me their ego, like that means that I have to transcend and choose to let go of my ego further, so that I can truly flow with God in a way that's loving and not controlling. But
Yeah, wow, there were a lot of good points that you made there. And I think you touched on something like really good around where you were saying that sometimes we can try to kind of put on this facade to look a certain way to those outside of us, and like be the life of the party. And like I feel like there is a part of us that wants to connect with others. There's a part of us that wants to shine and share the light of God that's within us. And I think ego tricks us into believing that we have to put ourselves in a box in order to do it, you know, that we have to be a certain way in order to shine our light, or we have to, or our light is limited to like a certain personality, you know, and we have to be a certain way to get those gifts, to get approval, to get validation, or whatever it is that we're seeking. Ego kind of tricks us into believing that we have to keep ourselves stuck in order to have those things. But in truth, all we have to do is surrender to who we are at our core. And it's easy when we just sort of relax into who we are and let go of the mask, let go of trying to be this person, and just be who God called you to be. And then you shine your light so brightly, then you touch so many people, and you really get to see the love, like you were saying, like the love that is there for you with God, because it's infinite and it's not something that you have to chase. It's not something that's outside of you. It's right here within you. And it's so easy that all you have to do is just surrender to it. But ego makes us think that we have to chase it, right? Or that we have to get to the finish line in order to have it. So yeah, just so much that you pointed out there. Another thing that like really stood out to me in Soraya's sermon was when she was saying that, yeah, when she talked about how she kind of held on to her upset when it was time for her to let it go. And I feel like I've done that before, just not really realizing, well, what's going to happen after I heal this thing? Kind of feeling like the chase was going to be over, or where will I get my motivation from after I come into union? But God is so infinite, and like all of you were saying, we are eventually going to heal all of our upsets, and it's still not going to be over. There's still so much to explore in life purpose and love with God, and I just love that. Yeah.
Also, something that Dylan said about transcending your situation and accepting the situation as it is, to reflect, to use it as a situation to reflect for yourself and heal your ego. I've also feel like I've experienced that in my workspace, and now from what I remember, me and Nikki were in union before coming to the teachings of Jeff and Shaleia, and the first time that we found out about the teachings was in a YouTube video. Nikki showed me the video, and it was a video where I think Jeff was sharing his car.
Yeah, in his house. They just got to the second.
Yeah, and it really motivated me, like inspired me to also claim that for myself, to manifest that. But after I came to the teaching, and even nowadays, I'm always like going deeper into this realization that I'm here for God. It's much bigger than like manifesting, getting that thing that you desire. That is just a part of you going deeper with God and feel supporting yourselves to being loved in different ways that you desire. And yeah, also there I wanted to share this about like manifesting it's just a part, just like having, it's just a part of our journey, just like having our twin flame, but at the end of the day it's all about God, and we just want to go into that eternal expansion with God and see where it takes us, and heaven on earth, and just keep expanding from there, even after perfect union.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a very subtle energy, and it's all about like intention. Like, why do you want that thing that you're chasing after? like what's the purpose of that? It should have purpose. And like, okay, like we were together, but what was the purpose of us being together? And I think that that's what we were and we are like discovering, and that's where the importance is. That's where God is. Like, that's what we are following.
Yeah. So your every what I feel like is that every manifestation that you have in life is for a purpose. Also, what you're saying, even your twin flame, there is a purpose. It's not just to get high and feel good, but it's to feel good as well, primarily. But it's about the deeper purpose that that God knows.
Yeah. Yeah. And like your union will feel bad if you don't have the purpose, because it will feel purposeless. Like, what's the purpose of being with your twin flame if you're not following your purpose with God first?
Yeah, it's
like,
limited. It doesn't expand.
And there are like, I know that Jeff and Shaleia has mentioned this as well in their videos, that there are people that are in union that are twin flames, and they are together, but they don't know, because they are like together as a couple, but they don't know the deeper purpose of why or what they can achieve together, like for harmonious union and life purpose and everything. So that's where what the teaching of union like teaches us, that there is deeper purpose. Like, you are together and now you can expand and like get in harmonious union and follow your purpose, serve, be with God, and just build heaven on earth. Yeah.
And it's safe for us to claim our power there, because we do have power, and our power comes from God, and only with God we can move forward, and we can feel even more empowered and expand from that.
And just like really feel worthy of that, because I know it was like a recurring thing also in the sermon that was talked about. It's like really feel worthy of all that God has for us, and just like accept our divinity and surrender there, and just like accept all the love that God has for us. That was very big for me.
Yeah, it's like a perspective shift, seeing your entire life from that perspective, that you're being loved all the time, even though maybe from outside, from triggers and everything of ego, it may seem harsh and it doesn't feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, it's just for you to realize that there is only love, and the contrast is guiding you to go to love. It's not making you suffer. You're actually, it's just showing you where you're choosing that within yourself, so you can release it and feel peaceful in love.
Yeah, until there's no more stuff.
It makes me think of a session that I just worked through, like just kind of realizing that we, coming from the limiting beliefs that we have come from, for a lot of us, we don't really know what love is. Like, we kind of see love as this grand thing that you have to work for. And yes, it is grand and beautiful. But there's a lot of like anxious and excitement kind of energy in it. And it's not really grounded, right? And what we have to learn is that love is peace. Love is natural. It's like the natural flow of God. And it's not something that we have to chase, right? Or attain. We just kind of fall into it. And it also reminds me of like growing up in this idea of being spoiled and that being a bad thing, like receiving everything that you want and feeling bad about that. I really had to work through that, and I'm still working through that, like coming from like a poverty consciousness and believing that that was humble and that the humility was a good thing, and kind of learning that in truth, humility is honoring God, recognizing the truth of who you are, being your true and authentic self. That's humility. That respect for who you are as a child of God, and that you're limitless, and that you don't have to limit yourself or put yourself down. So that's definitely something I've been working through, just kind of letting go of this idea that having and manifesting God's dreams for me means that I'm spoiled, or that I'm not deserving or worthy of it, or that it's a bad thing. A lot of that is just ego and garbage, and we can let that go. Yeah.
I definitely relate to that too. And exactly what you were saying too about seeing Jeff with like having these cars and this house and stuff. I was originally somewhat triggered by that. And but it made me realize that I was in accepting what God also wants for me, and realizing that I can be abundant as well and live in God's love without needing to feel like that I'm not abundant, and that having those things makes me feel like I'm living a life, like a fake life that isn't that I'm not worthy for, but that I desire, but like isn't necessary, almost like that. Like, well, I don't really need those things, even though I really desire to have those things. It's like, well, do you really need those things? And I think that's just a limiting thought that was like holding me within this like restricted mindset of thinking that like I don't deserve those things. And even like growing up in my childhood, I mean, I was an only child, or I'm an only child, so my parents loved me very much, but growing up I realized that not everyone had the same love that I grew up with. And so I grew up kind of feeling bad that that my parents loved me so much, but then I saw friends of mine that weren't in that same space, and so it did make me feel bad, and I didn't accept that I was just loved by God so much, so that I could be the person that I am today, and learn to accept God's love for me, and not try and reject it. And I think that that's like very, very easy in this age to, like, within this world, there's so many people that reject God's love, but also don't feel that they're abundant enough to accept and live a life full of abundance. And I mean, there's so many different constructs of life in different countries, and I feel that it's just like a wave of God, and where those specific vibrations are within that country. It's so unique, and people live in different waves of abundance today, where there's certain people that are like certain countries and groups of people that are in different waves of abundance, but it doesn't mean that they aren't abundant themselves. And just speaking to different people that have different beliefs and maybe aren't in the Church of Union, like they believe that they still live in abundance, and they do, because their idea of abundance is their construct of that belief. And I think that everyone has different constructs of like what abundance is, and other people have maybe larger ideas of what abundance is, and that's completely okay. And I think that kind of separates certain people around the world, but it's kind of unnecessary, because they just have different ideas of what their abundance is and what they can achieve within their own lives with God. And I just think it's beautiful to accept that like abundance is different for everyone, and you don't have to have the same abundance in your life compared to another life. And just it's really just important to like think about your own life and not worry about what other people don't have, and just know that they're divine and that they're abundant in their own way, and to embrace your God's love for yourself and your twin flame in your life, to allow that to show other people what's also possible too. But
yeah, because it's safe to claim like all of the desires that you have in your heart. Like, just like, I think that's what the situation with Jeff and the cars showed you, was like, oh yeah, it's safe to love God and to be like that abundant, and that level of abundance and
Yeah.
wealth. And like, yeah, and just because, you know, others like have limiting beliefs, like I feel like the sermon was like a wake up call of like, you know, it doesn't matter what the world thinks, like it's only about you and the desires God's placed in your heart, which are all meant to come true. And like, yeah, and it's safe to go after them and to pursue them. And like, you know, like I know in my heart, like we're all like, if there's a desire for a beautiful car one day in my life, like we'll have it, you guys will have it. Like I just love having that like affirmed, I feel like, again and again through these teachings and, you know, classes and like everything. It's like anything that you want is going to come to be. Like I think Shaleia said this a couple times. She was like, as long as you don't give up and you keep doing the work. Like I just love that, because it's like foolproof formula for every dream, every desire. And like and yeah, like it's safe. And what you guys both touched on, with feeling bad for like the love that you have in your life, or for the gifts that you have in your life, like I can definitely relate to that. And feel like I experienced that too a little bit growing up. And, you know, since finding the teachings of union, it's been really empowering to grab like, you know, the truth again, and to be like, oh, I never needed to knock myself down or be like I remember on my 15th or 16th birthday, I got an iPhone, and my parents bought like a super old Jeep for me. So I got a new car, and I just felt like, so I couldn't place the feeling at the time, but it was definitely unworthy and like guilty. And, you know, like I wasn't able to, like, I was so grateful, but it was like this underlying stomach feeling of like, why do I have this? Like, it's not like, this isn't safe, or like there was a feeling of that. And, but yeah, it's nice to remember that now, and to realize like, I am worthy for that. And like, I've always been worthy for it, and I never needed to feel guilty for, the things that were coming to me. And yeah, and like just overall, like it's totally safe to have what God gives us, and to like have gratitude and for what we do have, like, because we have a relationship with God, and like that's above all, like I feel like the best thing in the world. Like it leads you to your twin flame, it leads you to your dreams. Like
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah, having a
powerful.
relationship with God is like the most important thing in life. And I'm so grateful that I built that throughout my life, to allow myself to see God through everything, and to realize that God is in the smallest of little moments, that you love yourself. And everyone has those little moments that they look at and they just love so much. And to realize that like God is reflecting that back to your reality. And then also and on the other end of the spectrum, God is also reflecting those moments where you can still work through and still work on, to allow yourself to open up to God even more. And like these teachings have shown me that even more so, even deeper, to realize that like you can really reflect everything in your life, and that everything is a reflection of what you have in your own mind. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that relationship, and knowing that God is everything, and that he wants you to be happy. And that's why he brings certain things into your lives that you can work on, and triggers you in ways that you need to look at in a way that allows you to move through that and open up to just deeper and deeper love for God. And yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, were you gonna go, Nikki? Okay. I was just gonna touch on something that you said around abundance. and like the different, I think he said like the different waves of abundance, or how abundance can look different for different people. And it makes me think about this conversation that was happening on Twitter around like bus drivers. I think someone said something about like she could never date a bus driver, or bus drivers are mediocre, or something like that. And like Twitter just kind of blew up and we were talking about that. And when she defended herself, she was saying that she was more so talking about how like people who are not living up to their fullest potential are living a mediocre life. And so that kind of makes me think about the thing around abundance and how it can look different for different people. Like if your life purpose involves being that person who is driving the bus and getting people safely to that destination, or showing up on time, or being that person with a smile on their face who lights another person's day up, you know, like if you're living in your divine purpose, then you're abundant in your role, even if it's a bus driver or a janitor or whatever. Just the same as someone who's like the president of a country or something like that. Like if that's their purpose, then they're abundant in that. And it doesn't matter the role or the title or anything like that. Because, and like to the point about cars and things like that, I think Jeff even talks about this in one of the TFAS classes, is that not everybody wants a mansion. Not everybody wants like certain things. Some people are just comfortable with a small house, with, you know, just whatever surroundings are comfortable for them, and they're totally abundant in that. So yeah, like you were saying, it can look different. And I think when we put labels on it and put so much energy into those labels and making it our identity, that's where we get kind of that's where we lose sight of what God has for us, because it could very well be that you feel at peace and abundant in your small dwelling or whatever it is. And that's perfect for you. And you don't have to like compare yourself to others and things like that. So I thought that was a really good point to bring up.
Yeah, I was going to mention the same example about like Jeff talking about somebody whose purpose is to serve, for example, like an Ascension coach, or I don't know, just like somebody who needs a lot of support, emotional support, for example. So they have to buy cars and it helps them, and or they need a big mansion so they can have like different spaces for what really supports them. And then like there is somebody else who just does little horses. I think that was the example, and like they just need a small space and that's enough. Like it really sustains them, but that's their purpose, and that's like it's all about the consciousness behind it. And I just wanted like to touch upon this poverty thing, because we live in general poor country. And we see in the consciousness that people have this thing that, oh, I cannot have money because if I have money, then I will not be accepted. Because they do not focus on God. They don't see that, hey, I can follow God and I can show these people, look, you can change your life. Like it's not stuck in this small sphere. Like I don't need like to talk to people and try to please them, because there's a lack there. And what people tend to do in poverty is like try to find this humbleness or relate through this fake humbleness that is like, oh, I do not own this, or I own this, but it was gifted to me. Like I didn't buy it myself, or stuff like this that is like make the other people comfortable. But it's not comfortable, it's pleasant. It's like poison, because you feel good in the moment and like, but deep inside you don't actually. It's just like that common thing that, oh yeah, we can relate into this thing, and like we are dependent on each other, while there's a God. Like you should follow your thing, and that's the abundance thing. It's all about just following God, and whatever like you need to be supported into like doing your function and your purpose, then that's enough. But when this poverty thing comes, it's like, no, I am deserving. I'm just following my thing, and whatever I have is enough for me. Yeah.
Abundance is like, for me, it's about joy, basically being supported in your joy. That's how I feel that abundance is, and increasing your joy, being supported in increasing your joy, and therefore you are able to give more, serve people, and as you said, expand your function as well.
Yeah. And like, for example, for me personally, I lived for 10 years in Italy. I was raised there. But from my origins are Albanian, like both my parents are Albanian. So I was raised in a country that was not poor, like financially. It was well sustained. It has like a good standards, let's say. And when I came here, I experienced a big contrast, and I was never able like to fit in, let's say, because I had to let go of the value and the abundance that I gained, or I was raised in from the other country, and coming like into a poorer country. I had like to compromise, and I didn't want that. And I've been healing this a lot. And the reason that we're here is like to really transcend it fully, because it was in my family's consciousness as well, because they were raised here. So it was like a mix of values and abundance levels, like for the country itself. So yeah. I don't know, I just realized this, and I'm like, okay, just sharing it.
Yeah, and to like another point that was mentioned, like everyone, I love just thinking about like the world as like it's like a well-oiled machine where everyone has their own parts that they place their energy into certain things, and it helps the whole world continue. And like if you really like have love for each individual person in the world and respect for like what they bring to every single piece of that grand puzzle, I think that like you realize that everyone is doing the best that they can to live their life fully, but some people don't realize that like God is truly trying to guide them into that grand piece of their life where they can live fulfilled, and to live like a life full of love. I feel a lot of people like neglect, including like myself, early in my life, like it was like I was like neglecting God's love for me to do everything that I wanted to do. And it came through different family members of basically like being worried, like I don't know how you're gonna be able to like basically pay for certain things in my life. Like my grandfather just like had this idea, like I don't know how you're gonna make it, basically, because like I didn't live a life that was like basically getting a job that was like an office job or something that was like able to pay for like all the things that I wanted to, like just necessary things like having a home and like paying for utilities. And like he was like just this worry of like I don't know how you're gonna make it because this world is changing, and just not living in abundance. And like I just feel I'm so grateful for, my twin flame Hannah, and for us to be transcending that belief of like needing to work a job that you don't enjoy, to be in a place where you're not really happy, and like transcending that belief of like not living in abundance and completely embracing God's love to guide us to heaven, and to guide us to heaven on earth. And like I know there's no question in my mind that like we're ascending towards that, and that we're allowing other people to ascend into that lifestyle of not living that way, and to living a life that is full of love and joy and passion. And yeah, it's really meaningful to me to be able to speak on this and know that we're all helping people live their life an abundant and passionate way that brings them to their twin flame and their life purpose. And like it's everything that I've ever wanted to do, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, like that is beautiful. And it feels really good because like you was saying, like I'm kind of the one that went and got an office job and all of that stuff. And with Dylan, I admire him for like just going after, like he got a degree in art and like has just been pursuing his passions of like creativity and art and like following his deep desire in his heart from God. And like I just think it's so beautiful how we've merged into like pursuing our life purpose now, and like how it all, like I got an advertising degree, so it really meshes well with like, you know, artistic abilities and like advertising to pursue, you know, being coaches and like stepping into that next level. And like yeah, and like, you know, because I feel like because you followed your heart, because like I followed my heart too in my own ways, which led me to the teachings of union and like finding him and coming together. And like yeah, like just because we did exactly what the sermon talked about today, like just followed that desire deep down, it led us to like right here and now, and like all of our dreams coming true like one by one. And like yeah, I have no doubt in my mind either that it's happening, and that, you know, that like we'll all transcend like our own personal lessons to, you know, continue going deeper and deeper into God's love and abundance for us. And like it's just a choice, and like we've all made that choice and like keep making it. And yeah, it's like it's really safe to know like there's nowhere else to go but like further into God's dreams and like desires for our lives.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, I just wanted to mention something that came up while we were talking about living our purpose and feeling like fulfilled. Is that God, something that Jeff has said in a sermon, I believe, like the first sermon from the Church of Unity, if I'm correct. Anyway, it was that God, like each of us has like a particular part of God. I don't know how it goes. Wait. Is that each of us can, like, for example, like if God itches, like only one, like each of us has a part where God feels like fulfilled. If like we only us like can reach this part of God where he will feel fulfilled only by us.
Mhm.
So like we all, I know it's weird how I said it.
Yeah. I think it complements perfectly what Dylan said about like that piece of that grand puzzle.
Yeah, that each of us has like a function in the kingdom of heaven on earth. Like we all have a specific function, and that God is not fulfilled without us being there. So that's why it's also very important to just like spread the teachings of union, so we can all just be completely ascended as one on heaven on earth, and just go back to God and just do what God wants us to do. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. This discussion has just been so juicy and jam-packed. I think it's a perfect way to really dive deeper into this sermon and do Soraya's beautiful sermon justice. So I'm starting to feel complete. How about you all? Awesome. Any other insights and takeaways before we close out? Beautiful. Well, that wraps up today's discussion. Thank you all so much for joining. For those of you who joined us live, thank you so much. If you are joining us from the Facebook page, definitely hop over to the Church of Union YouTube page. That is where you will find all of our previous discussions, as well as a lot of other juicy content. And we'll see you in the next discussion. Bye.